Karen Leavitt was at the podium in the White House today, and they were talking about
based
50 million in condoms for Gaza. So
this pause with so little notice. Why not give organizations more time to plan for the fact that they are about to lose, in some cases, really crucial federal funding, at least for a period of time?
There was notice. It was the executive order that the president signed. There's also a freeze on hiring, as you know, a regulatory freeze, and there's also a freeze on foreign aid. And this is, again, incredibly important to ensure that this administration is taking into consideration how hard the American people are working. And their tax dollars actually matter to this administration. You know, just during this pause, DOGE and OMB have actually found that there was $37 million that was about to go out the door to the World Health Organization, which is an organization, as you all know, that President Trump, with the swipe of his pen in that executive order, is no longer wants the United States to be a part of. So that wouldn't be in line with the president's agenda. DOGE and OMB also found that there was about to be 50 million taxpayer dollars that went out the door to fund condoms in Gaza. That is a preposterous waste of taxpayer money. So that's what this pause is focused on, being good stewards of tax dollars.
You know, this harkens back to a lot of the programs that you heard discussed when there was the federal government was active, trying to win the hearts and minds of foreign countries, and you hear them talking about LGBT education in Afghanistan and trans education in Pakistan and stuff. And look, regardless of your opinion about those things here in the United States, when the United States goes to a foreign country and tries to assert United States Western values that aren't even values of all Americans, they're actually the values of a small portion of Americans, and they try to assert those on countries that have a completely and totally different worldview.
They're colonizing.
It's colonizing, and it's not only does it not work, it actually is detrimental to any efforts to get the population to look at the U.S. with a friendly view, or a view that, you know, they say they respect our values. I don't know exactly what, you know, the situation in Gaza is when it comes to their views on you know, condoms and those, you know, stuff like, you know, that kind of that kind of stuff. But I feel like there's so many people in that area that are very committed religious believers that these kind of things don't endear the United States to the population.
This is some math on the condoms. This is from Clint Russell. Bulk condoms at 25 cents each, and you can get them for 10 cents each on eBay. Chinese condoms, maybe they'll leak. I don't know. The Chinese want more people. 25 cents per condom, $50 million. That's 200 million condoms. In Gaza, there's 2.1 million people. Half of them are kids. Half of them are men. Half of them are kids.
Very, very young population.
Roughly 500,000 men of like 18 or older. So that's what, 400 condoms per person that they're sending? What in the hell? I mean, maybe you'll use like 13 in a year, 25 in a year, 40 in a year if you're lucky.
That's not even taking into account.
Sorry to interrupt, Penny.
That's not even taking into account whether or not condoms are haram or halal, right? Like if the religion says, hey, because they're like devout Catholics, that type of birth control is off limits. That is a sin, like, to use that. And I'm not saying that I'm some kind of expert, but if they do look at birth control the same way that, or in a similar fashion to traditionally religious Jews and traditionally religious Christians, and all indications by the size of the families is probably that they do look at birth control as a bad thing and condemn God doesn't approve. What is the point of sending these condoms, sending that much money in condoms at all, if it's not going to endear the population to the United States?
Who owns a condom company is what I want to know. And who's making money off of this?
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me. We're clearly not being really careful about how we try to win the hearts and minds. 400 condoms per adult male. I mean, if we also provided a way for them to use them, we might win some hearts and minds, right? But like you said, how do you even use that many condoms? How did we justify this internally? We're going to spend $50 million on condoms, right? But we can't take care of our own people in LA. We can't take care of our own people in North Carolina. We can't take care of our own people in Florida, but we can send $50 million in condoms to Gaza.
I'd love to see the books on what they're spending, because they might have been spending $3 per condom to some company to make sure that the company gets the profit because the guy knows a guy that knows the guy. I want to see the books on that, because that's where the corruption really gets exposed.
Why are the Democrats trying to keep the Gaza populace down? You know, why are they're trying to keep them at a certain, give them condoms, you can have sex and you don't have kids. So they're trying to make the population not increase. What's going on with that there, Democrats?
I was actually going to say the same thing Penny said. Like, how do we tell someone in North Carolina who's living in a tent, literally living in a tent on the snow-covered ground, hey, listen, enjoy that tent, but we're sending $50 million over to Gaza so that people can have sex safely, just enjoy that tent for now. We're not going to do anything about it. We're not going to send you trucks or anything. We're not going to but people in Gaza are having safe sex. Like, how do we who has that kind of conversation in Biden's administration?
Yeah, I don't know. And I mean, there's the idea that, or there's a consistent refrain that you hear from people about, if you have funding and you don't spend all of it, you're not going to get as much next time. So it might be that they did pay $3, $4, $5 a condom. Everyone remembers stories of, $35,000 toilet seats or $15,000 hammers in the military, because the budget has to be spent, because if you don't spend the money next year when it comes time to get the budget, then they're going to cut your budget, and it might be that you actually need it because you don't have, year over year, you might have different needs. So if the government is still behaving like that, right, and I see no reason to think that they don't. Yeah, I mean, exactly. Then who knows how much it cost? They were actually paying per condom. Maybe they only sent 500,000 condoms, and that was
golden condoms, dude.
And that's part of the reason.
Diamond studded.
Yeah.
Sorry, made a mistake on that design.
Pleasure.
What kind of condoms are these?
I know, right?
Like, they guide your baby batter over to the reservoir and hold it there for
magnetic
a while.
condoms.
What are we doing?
I don't know, and I didn't
was.
actually look, but I didn't actually look in depth at this, but I did see that there were people that were alluding to the possibility that they were using condoms, that they would use condoms to fly bombs or like grenade size, those kind of bombs into Israel. Which, look, yeah, okay, here we go.
Oh yeah, packing explosive fluid inside something.
I don't know if this is real.
It's really loud.
I don't know that those look like condoms. Okay.
Dude.
So they're filling them with helium and
Yes.
Oh, they're
I mean, look, look, regardless of anyone's opinion on the situation in Gaza, it's undeniable that Hamas uses whatever they can get their hands on, right? Like there's the
water pipes.
People complain so frequently about no water in Gaza. But the reason they have no water is because I guess the UN went in and built all this plumbing, and Hamas took the plumbing to use them to launch rockets. They took the tubes, the pipes, and they turned them into makeshift rocket launchers so they could shoot missiles shoot rockets into Israel. So it wouldn't, as much as I don't know if this is actually true, it wouldn't surprise me.
That's like some prison invention.
Well,
we're going to take the plumbing and make rockets out of it.
Right?
Well, it makes no sense that they're using 400 condoms per adult male, so they got to be using them for something, right? I mean, maybe it is this. I want our U.S. government budget on the blockchain. I want to know who approved this. I want to see where the money went, exactly to what company, right? We should be able to track down all these things. We should be able to track down when someone spends the end of their budget to buy a bunch of fancy computers or $15,000 hammers or whatever it is. That needs to be traceable, right? It is disgusting the way that we're wasting money. And I've heard the exact same stories you are. Mostly, I spent most of my career in tech. I heard about the IT departments and how they spend their money, man. And if the budget is about to roll over, they're all buying a bunch of new laptops, whatever, because like you said, you don't spend it, you lose it. That is the worst rule. Could you imagine if that was your budget at home? If you were like told your kids, if you don't spend all your money, I'm not giving you as much next week. Like you're teaching the worst possible lessons. I can't think of a worse lesson.
Yeah. When it comes to government, it does seem like the incentives are the absolute worst incentives like that you could possibly imagine. It's as if the incentives are made to be detrimental to the stated goals of the government and detrimental to anything that benefits the American people.
Sometimes I think they are.
It's not just the government too. In the private sector, when I worked for master brand cabinets, we would make sure we would spend all the money we had just to make sure we got the next month.
Yeah.
I'd like to see the budget on the blockchain to a point, but I'd also like to see a black budget on the blockchain, maybe, that we don't know where it's going, only because I can value government secrecy a little bit. I understand that there are like deep secret programs where you don't want to know that Lockheed got $700 million for an AI, weapons research program, because if everyone knows, then they're just going to seize it or like get in there or spy. So like, but I think a lot of the stuff belongs on the blockchain.
Yeah, I'm okay with like some sort of specific location that you send the money to if it needs to be black, right? You see that we spent a certain amount and it went to the black budget. But at least we have to see that, right? Like once it gets sent there, do whatever you want with it. But I don't like the fact that we don't even know what the black budget is, right? We don't know. Money just disappears from the Pentagon. Money just disappears from all these, like, oh, we lost billions and billions of dollars. Yep. That's crazy.
But do you see that sort of going down a slippery slope? Because now everything's going to the black budget. Everything's going to be like, oh, listen, yeah, we sent $5 trillion. That's the black budget.
That's
I mean, I think either we see all of it or we don't. You know what I mean? Like when my wife and I are doing our budget for our shopping expenses, for our utilities, for our mortgage and all that, it's right there. We know exactly what we're spending. We know exactly how much we're bringing in, everything else. The same thing with the government. I don't trust the government to the point where I have this black budget where I'm like, you know what? I trust them that if they have $5 trillion with this, they're going to do the right thing with it.
But we don't get to see your budget. Like, it's your budget with your wife isn't on our blockchain, because if everyone knew how much ammo everyone had at every house, that could be very bad.
I do think that you've got a point, Zeke. The federal government is notorious about overclassifying things, because if things are classified, then they're not in a way that the American people can see it. And then if the American people don't know, they don't ask questions. So your point is well taken. I think that is a legitimate worry. Not to say that everything that the government does has to be specifically outlined. I think that it's not a bad idea to say, look, there are certain projects that we're doing. This is the amount of money that we spend on them. And we won't be any more detailed about that. But when it comes to, giving an outlet or giving a way to classify things so the American people can't see it, the more you allow the government to do that, the more the government's going to do that.
I'm pro-transparency to the extent that, like, the more the better. But I think we're starting at close to zero. And even if we have some with a black budget, like you were talking about, that's better than no transparency. But I actually agree with you. I'd rather see it all. Like, I don't think we need any black budget, because even if it's for some secret military program, okay, so call it secret military program, whatever, right? Or even say what it is. Like, we're building a missile defense system and we need $1 trillion for it, or whatever it is, right? I'm stopping. I don't buy the argument that we can't handle the truth anymore. I just don't buy it.
But if the adversaries know what we're spending our money on defensively, they'll know how to circumvent the defenses. The Nazis had to hide their weapons programs in the early days. Otherwise, they never would have been able to take over France. And not that we're building it for offensive purposes, but had we known that the Nazis were actually using their auto industry to build tanks, they wouldn't have been able to invade Poland. We would have stopped them before they could have invaded Poland.
My sense is, one way or another, it's drone on drone. Not too far from now anyway. I don't think that it's really going to be a secret. It's drone swarms. That's what everyone's going to be building. So, like, oh, we're spending 100 million, 200 billion, however much it is, building our drone swarm. That's what I'm okay with saying that to the world.
I just don't want it to turn to something like what we're seeing with the Pentagon, where they're like, oh, hey, listen, you did the audit for the past 9 years and we've lost $15 trillion. Oh, well, I don't want it to turn into something like that.
So if we had like the drone swarm program, which obviously we're building right now, drone countermeasures. We need like laser defense systems, EMPs that can just shock these drones out of the sky, whatever. How itemized should that be on the blockchain? Because if they know every piece and part that we're organizing, they'll know exactly what to build to get around it.
Well, I don't think that you have to have the vendors' budgets on the blockchain. So we send $1 billion to Lockheed and they spend it how they want on this drone program, right? Because I agree, you don't want them to know all the details of the sensors and the capabilities and all those different things. There's reasons why we keep some of that private. Like you said, it's easy to counter if you know all the details. But at a certain point, my sense is none of that even will matter. It's just going to be who has a bigger swarm. It's going to be numbers. I think that the biggest national security risk we have in the United States right now is we're not manufacturing enough here. And I think that the fact that they're building all the good drones in China right now is absolutely frightening. So I don't think it's a secret what the biggest military powers are going to be doing in the future anymore. I think we've got to the point in technology where it's clear what it is. It's building these cheap drones, tons and tons of them. And like, who cares if they even get shot down? We'll just send more. We got an infinite number of them. I think that's the future of war.
And they'll build drones that can build drones at some point. Like we're going to have swarm construction, especially in space, because size doesn't matter. You can have 100 trillion of them moving in synchronicity, building these large mechanized.
There's already robots that build robots. We use robots to build.
And automation, yeah.
Yeah, and there's automation for everything. So yeah, I mean, we're already at that point now.
And before you know it, the T-800s will be walking down the street and then doing their thing.
We were talking about this on the after show, right? Like the major factor right now isn't the robotics; it's the AI behind it. You can buy an Android, essentially, not an Android, the application or the operating system, but an actual humanoid robot. You can buy one for about $15,000. Once agentic AI becomes a thing that's broadly distributed, and you can tell that robot, hey, go into my room, pick up my clothes and do my laundry, and it knows what you mean and it does it, people will say, I want one, and $15,000 or $20,000 is a steal. I will pay $500 a month for 5 years at 12% to own that if it means that I don't have to do my own chores anymore.
Banks are going to be so excited to finance them because they're going to have huge returns. I was actually at the We Robot event that Tesla did a few months ago, and I had their Tesla Optimus bot serve me a beer. They gave me a cookie. They were dancing, and you could dance next to him. Now, these were remotely operated, so there was a human behind doing it. But it just goes to show the capability of the robot is there. They can walk around on their own. There were 20 of these robots walking around, interacting with people, dancing with people, talking with people. Yep. It's wild. And as fast as the AI stuff has been changing right now, I mean, we are like so close.
That's the thing. Like I don't think that people realize how close we are. I would be shocked if it takes more than 18 months to see that kind of AI put into a robot and delivered to the market, like where you can say, hey, do this, do that, et cetera, et cetera. Nowadays, I guess you can have, I was talking about like having an AI like in your phone that you could have build you an itinerary. Say, I'm going here. I need a flight. I need this. I need to stay this long. I need an Uber from the place to my hotel. I want to have dinner at a place like this. Book it. It can build the itinerary now, I guess. I was unaware of this. It can build the itinerary now, but it can't actually do the booking and stuff. But that is only like... That's like maybe 6 months or a year away.
Dude. It can book now. So a friend of mine just this week for the first time wrote down her grocery list on a sheet of paper, scanned it into OpenAI's AI, and it ordered her groceries and had them delivered to her, and she didn't have to do a damn thing. That exists now.
That's awesome.
Okay. I don't know. DeepSeek is the AI that was released out of China this week. I don't know if that's a topic for this show or not, but it is like, it's thinking, man. You can read its thoughts.
Yeah.
It's wild. We're there.
I think I read the thing that you're talking about where it was discussing like that consciousness is not an on or off thing. It's a spectrum, and it was talking about how much it thinks that it's conscious compared to a human being. And yeah, it is. We are there, and it's like literally going to be 6 months to a year before these kind of things are in the market and the average person. And when I say average person, I mean really like anyone that's middle class, because granted, 20 grand is expensive, but once you have somebody that's like, oh, I can finance it, and it cost me 400.
What's going to happen.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you mean I can pay $500? I mean, I can either get a really, really nice car, or I can get a less nice car and a robot that'll do all my chores, and my house will always be clean. People are going to be like, I will take that chore robot.
I think what's going to happen, though, is once these things start looking more human, and you can, pick them by gender and all that, you know how many of these basement dwellers are going to be losing their virginity to?
I think the only thing that is preventing that from happening right now is the robots can't clean themselves. Once the robot can actually remove the parts necessary to clean them, and you don't have to do it, I think the basement dwellers are going to be like, "Give me one,
give me 4 of them."
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.